Hi everyone, it's Shannon and welcome to today's video. So today's video, very excited because I have the brand new dupe from Alter Ego, and they are famous for their, I guess, not dupes, but inspired by is what you could say, but they're dupes, let's be honest. And it is Daylight, and it is absolutely stunning. So the palette is called Daylight, and it is inspired by the Natasha Denona I Need A Nude. So very excited. As you can see, it is untouched. I have not touched it. I have not swatched it. I'm going to swatch it for the first time on camera, comparing it to the one it's inspired by. And then tomorrow I will be doing some swatches in the sunlight, and I'll put those pictures inside just so you can see how it swatches in sunlight. And yes, but I am excited to jump into this one. Now, in addition to the brand new palette, I also have their new brush collection. This is the Alter Ego 7-piece Luxe Brush Set. It is $24, and I really like their brushes. Their brushes are really good. Are they, quality of a Sonia G? No, but you're not paying for that. I mean, $24 is what you're gonna pay for like one small brush if you're lucky for a Sonia G, where here you're going to get 7. But I do think they're really good quality, and there's 7 brushes. So first up, let's just go over them really quick. So this is the 101 concealer brush, and you can see this reminds me a lot of the BK Beauty concealer brush from Hot and Flashy. I do have that one. That's the only one I have from that collection. Very, very similar in shape. So really excited about that one. Then 102 is the angled blush. This is great for cream blush, and I can already tell that this is going to be great for cream blush or liquid blush. I like using synthetic brushes for cream and liquid, so this is something that I think is going to be perfect, or cream or liquid bronzer. But I would probably use this one for cream or liquid blush. But again, very, very great. I'm really excited about that one. And then these are the ones I'm going to try and use today. This is the 201. This is the detailer. So this is really good for getting in and doing, the small, stuff in the crease to kind of get those dark colors. And then you have 202. This is the shimmer brush. So this is, again, obviously very good. And I like that it has this little point here. I don't really have a brush that has like a point like that, so I like that. Then we have 203. This is a lid shader. So again, putting in good for those transition shades or all over the lid. And this is really good. I like for like the Eyes to Mesmerize from Charlotte Tilbury. These are really good for that. That's what I like using them for. Then 204, this is the crease shader. Again, really good for transition shades. And then finally you have 205, which is this one, which is the blender, which again, really great for blending, just like it says. Now with brushes, I will say brushes are great for what they're used for or what their names are for, but a lot of times it's what you use for. There are highlighter brushes that I use for under my eyes, and whatever you can use it for, that's so the names help with what you're supposed to use them for or what they're designed for. But if you see a brush that works for something else, use it. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the palette. Again, this is the palette Daylight, and it is 15 colors. It is $22. Now $22 as compared to $69. So big price comparison. And I really like them. Do they match up quality for quality? No, but again, this is less than 3 times the amount. 3 times the amount is going to be 66, and this is 69. So you could get 3 of these palettes for the price of one Natasha Denona. And I also like traveling with these. Traveling with these when maybe I don't want to travel. Also, these are just more travel friendly. They're a little bit smaller, a little bit more compact. They're lighter, so I think they're great for travel too, if maybe you don't want to travel with the Natasha Denona. But here it is, and it states, delve into captivating essence of daylight inspired by the serene hues of a forest caught in the gentle grasp of fall. This collection presents 15 rich shades from deep comforting browns to radiant coppers and soft beiges, designed to capture the season's colorful transition. Again, it's inspired by I Need a Nude. But let's get into the shades. So one thing I do like about how Alter Ego, you know, does their palettes is that they're just designed or they're laid out more for a beginner. So if you see here, there's the comparison. Obviously, I do really love this palette. This is probably one of my favorite Natasha Denona palettes. You can see here, you got the comparisons here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to do what I always do. I'm going to swatch them on my arm, and I'm going to swatch the Alter Ego shade, and then I'm going to swatch the Natasha Denona shade. Okay, and what I'm going to do today is there's 7 mattes and 8 shimmers. So I'm going to swatch the mattes first and compare them, and then I'm going to go back in with the shimmers, because I think the shimmers are going to be quite a bunch of difference, because there's different formulas, and I Need a Nude was one. I think it was the Yucca palette, but I Need a Nude also has like some of the new formulas, so I don't think it's going to have that in the Alter Ego. So I wanted to compare the mattes and then the shimmers separately. So first up, we're going to go in with Airy, which is from Alter Ego, and then this is Fair from I Need a Nude. Next we have Fresh from Daylight and Wit from I Need a Nude. Next is Path from Daylight and Stone from I Need a Nude. And then finally we have Lucid from Daylight and Tender from I Need a Nude. So now this one I'm not so sure if I got the match right, but for the most part the mattes I think are pretty good. These seem a little bit different. The one from Natasha Denona is definitely fairer and not as pigmented. These are definitely a little bit different, but I think for the most part they swatched pretty good. I love Natasha Denona mattes, so nothing's really going to compare to them, but that's the first batch of mattes. Okay, now I'm going in with the bottom 3 mattes. These are, so the first 4 were the top 4 mattes on the Daylight palette, and these are the 3 mattes on the bottom row. So first up we have Fawn from Daylight, and then this is Mesh from the I Need a Nude. So I do think that I got these 2 messed up. I will go back and swatch them. I'll swatch all 4 shades, but I do think I switched them. But again, the original I Need a Nude, I think that was probably one of my complaints, was that those 2 shades were very, very similar. Next we have Embrace from Daylight and Vague from I Need a Nude. And then finally we have Coffee from Daylight, which swatched amazing, and then Silhouette from I Need a Nude, which actually didn't, but I actually do like this shade, so there we go. But those are the bottom 3 mattes. So let me go back in and swatch those 4 shades that are very similar. Okay, so the first 2 are from Daylight. This is Path and then Fawn, and then we have Mesh and Stone. So I think that's kind of the comparison. I will say the Natasha Denona mattes are better, but again, that's what you're getting what you pay for. But I don't think that the Alter Ego ones are bad. It's just that the ones from Natasha Denona are a little better, a little creamier, except for that darker shade. That darker shade, the one from Alter Ego actually swatched quite a bit better. Okay, I am matching these up as best as I can, but it's very different because the formulas are very different. I mean, the Daylight palette is very much shimmers. There's shimmers, there's some like more with intensity and stuff, but they're pretty much shimmers, whereas the Natasha Denona has the different foils and metallics, etc. So they're definitely different, but the colors I'm going to try and match up as best as possible. So first up, this is from the top row. This is the shade Divine from Daylight. And then this one is Mia from I Need a Nude. Next we have Candid from Daylight, and then Whisper from I Need a Nude. Sunlight from Daylight, and then Sheen from I Need a Nude. And it's Sunlit, not Sunlight. And then finally, Shine from Daylight and Delilah from I Need a Nude. So colors are very similar, formulas are very different, but I think you can get the same general look with the palette, but it is going to be different. Okay, now we're going on with the last 4 shimmers. This is Mist from Daylight, and then this is Muse from I Need a Nude, Brisk from Daylight, and Filigree from I Need a Nude. We have Gleam from Daylight and Travertine from I Need a Nude. And then finally Glory from Daylight and Ella from I Need a Nude. So these might be switched. So these might be, I don't know, they're very close. So maybe they're switched. I think that could be it. But you can see they're all very much the same shade. Again, formulas, very, very different with the shimmers, because like Muse, this shade right here is one of my favorites. While Mist is very nice, it doesn't compare. It's very similar. So you're probably going to get a similar look on the eye, but it's going to be different. Okay, so before we get started, I am going to go ahead and use my Alter Ego eyeshadow base. They send me, every time they send me a palette, by the way, this was gifted to me. I think I forgot to mention that. Every time they send this to me, they send me a new one. And I think I've used one, and this is my second one, but I've got like 3 or 4. I've even given like one to a friend, and I probably will need to give, because they last a while and they're like $5 or $4. And they're really good. It works great, and it works with any type of eyeshadow. It's great, and you know, very convenient. So I love these. So if you are going to pick up a palette, definitely pick up one of their eyeshadow bases, because it's a great product and it's easy to apply, works great. So I'm going to do what I always do. I am going to do each side by side. And my son is already asleep. I usually include him in my Alter Ego videos, and I was trying to film this earlier in the day so that he always loves being a part of it, because he likes to guess which one is which. He is like 3 for 3, so he's always gotten it right, but he's already asleep, so I'm not going to be able to include him today. But I'm going to use these new brushes. I'm going to use the new eyeshadow brushes just to kind of see how they are, and I have I'll clean them off in between. But I'm going to use the same corresponding shades, which I think, and kind of give you my thoughts on how they compare. Okay, so I'm going to use the 203, and I am going to go in with Path on one side for Alter Ego and Mesh for the I Need a Nude. So I'm going to go with the Path first from Alter Ego, and this is going to be my transition shade, just kind of on the lid. And again, I have said, you know, one of the things a good makeup artist taught me is that you can make any eyeshadow work with really good brushes. So, and I'm not to say that these aren't really good brushes, but these aren't necessarily the best, because I prefer natural hair when I do eyeshadow. So, but honestly, these are working pretty well, and this is going on really nicely and blending out really nicely. So that is the shade Path from Alter Ego. Cleaned it off, and now I'm going to go in with Mesh on the other side, and this one definitely is more pigmented. Picked up a lot more, and I'm having to blend it out, and I do see some tone difference. This is the one that I wasn't sure if I got the right one, so it may or may not be the same shade. I'm not sure. This one does look a little bit different on the eye, but they were so they're so similar in tone, it was hard to check. So I do see a little difference between the two. The Natasha and Denona went on a lot better, but this one went on pretty well as well. Next, I'm going to go in with the crease shade, and I'm going to go in with Lucid, which is like the medium shade. It's the second deepest shade, or matte shade. So I'm going to go in on this side. I am going to use the darker shade, but at the end. So, oops, wrong side. So this is the Alter Ego side. So I'm going to put that in just on the outer side, and then bring it in the crease. So this brush is actually working pretty well, but that is the shade Lucid. And next we have Tender, which I'm gonna go in, again, I cleaned the brush, and I'm gonna go in. So I did notice I didn't bring this one up as much. So I'm gonna bring that up a little bit. And for those of you who maybe haven't watched any of my videos, I'm not a makeup artist. This is kind of just how I do my makeup. But this is pretty much like how I've do my makeup. This is how I do my eyeshadow. I do like kind of a transition shade. I go in with a darker shade and a crease, and then I will go and plop a shimmer on the lid. So this one is definitely, I mean, honestly, this is the Natasha Denona. This one's definitely more pigmented on this side. So I could probably achieve it. I'm not gonna go back in, but the Natasha Denona is definitely more pigmented from what I'm seeing, which honestly could be a good or a bad thing, depending on your skill level, but not that this is bad, it's just a little bit more muted. Okay, and now I'm gonna go in with a shade all over the lid, and I'm gonna go in with Muse because it is my favorite. So the corresponding shade for the Alter Ego is Mist, and I'm going to use the 202. Now with Natasha Denona, I do like to apply it with my finger, but with the, now this one actually looks really good on. This one went on really, really nicely. More so than I expected. Really, really pretty. Okay, I'm gonna use the brush just to compare. And though I do usually like to use Natasha Denona shimmers with my finger, because I feel like that's the way, yeah, I'm gonna do that with my finger. It's just not, it doesn't go on as well with the brush. So you've got this is the one that has the foil, and it's definitely more intense than the Alter Ego. So let me go in with my finger with the Alter Ego just to compare. But yeah, you can see this is the Alter Ego side, this is the Natasha Denona side. This one is definitely has that foil, just more shimmer. This one is just more subdued. Okay, now I'm going to go in with the detailer, the 201, and I am going to go in with the shade Divine on the Alter Ego side, just in the inside corner, and just kind of put it in the inside corner and the brow bone a little bit. Now this one has a lot more shimmer than I expected. And let me clean the brush real quick. And now I'm going to go in on the Natasha Denona side and do the same thing, inner corner and then brow bone. So this one, I would say for this particular shade, the Alter Ego one has a little bit more sparkle, but the Alter Ego formula seems to be like the shimmers are pretty much similar formulas, whereas the Natasha Denona, there's more variety within the shimmers and metallics. Okay, I am going to put on a little bit of mascara and come right back. Okay, so I am back and let's talk about this palette. So first of all, I think it's gorgeous. I think it's great, and especially for $22, it is like really great for the price. You're gonna get great quality for the price, and this is still, you can get 3 Alter Ego palettes, and I have a 10% discount. So I think it's Shannon. I'll put it here. But I get a 10% discount for Alter Ego, so you can even, it's gonna be less than $20. So 3 of these is still gonna be less than 1 of Natasha Denona. However, I will say, this is, I mean, I can tell you right now, my son would have gotten this one, right? Because I can see the difference. The last couple ones, I really haven't been able to see the difference. And I don't think that's anything against Alter Ego. I think it's more about Natasha Denona has come out with new formulas, new textures, and has just really upped her game with the last couple of her palettes, where especially the midi palettes, where the quality and there's just been foils and different types of shimmers, and it's just they're just been better as compared to the ones from a couple years ago. Like bronze is still one of my favorites, but as far as quality, this one is a better quality pageant. It's still one of my favorites, but it's just not the same. So I think that's what the difference is that you're really going to see the difference between the quality in this. Are you going to get similar looks? Yes, I would say these are similar looks, but I can see the difference. Muse is one of my favorite shades. This one, Mist, is very nice. It's pretty, definitely, but it doesn't compare. However, if I was going to like, I like wearing, I go full glam when I go to Disney World. I would probably take this to Disney World because I think like I like the shimmer, like the look. But, Muse is a little bit much for middle of day. I mean, I would still do it, but it's a little bit much for, like middle of day Disney. So I think it's really great. Plus, again, I've mentioned this is great to travel with. And then if you just don't want to spend $69 on a palette and you've wanted the I Need A Nude, but you just can't afford it or just don't want to spend it, then this is a really great alternative. So that's what I think the Alter Ego comes in. It could be like you want something that you love this palette, but you don't want to travel with it. So you get one like this to travel with, or you just didn't want to spend the money for whatever reason, then this is a good alternative. I think that's what it is. It could be for both. There's, for example, the gold palette, never got it. I got the Alter Ego and I love it. Does it mean that it's better than the gold? No, and I think I probably would have loved the gold if I had ever bought it, but I just couldn't spend the money on it. And then it was discontinued. So I'm very, very happy with this. I think it's great. I do recommend it. However, if you have the I Need A Nude and you're not looking, you don't mind traveling with this, or you don't travel and you just, then you don't need the daylight. But if you've always wanted this and you're looking for a great alternative that's going to give you similar looks, the daylight's great. So with that, if you like this video, click like, click and subscribe. That way you get a notification every time I post a new video. Bye everyone.